like to thank you for your work in Congress. And I agree with the lady here talking about getting along together. But the taxes are all taken away, and you can't have as much money to give you charity as you want to give. You know, if you have less taxes, you can give where you need it.
And you get a deduction for it too.
Right. And also, what concerns me is the debt that you're going bankrupt with the debt the way it is. And also, I wanted to talk because I thought Alvin was going to be here and say that because of the bills that were passed, most school districts are saving $1.5 million in that neighborhood.
By cutting jobs and cutting plans.
Mueller has the floor. Go ahead.
So, these things that have passed are helping the children.
Why don't you come and
Not a meeting where we all agree. It's a meeting where we can express our
Sign back before things were passed. Have money to spend, they're hiring.
Thank you. Michael Lauer of Idlewild Avenue, followed by Joe Bockhorst of Lake Bluff Boulevard in Shorewood. Mr. Lauer.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Sensenbrenner, for allowing this town hall, allowing us to speak to you tonight. I want to talk about jobs and the job crisis and what's going on in our country with people being unable to find employment, in particular unable to find good jobs in the places that they live. I heard a lot of boasting coming from our governor about how supposedly half the nation's job growth had happened in Wisconsin. I think if you read any sort of critique of that statement, you find that that's very, very much bogus, and that most of those jobs that were created were temporary, seasonal, certainly do not pay enough to support a family, certainly are not something that you can build a career on and support your family in the long term with. Certainly nothing that a college student who's graduating from college now can go out and hope to get. And so I think it's important that we all really check when governors, representatives make statements about job growth in this country, especially right now. I'm really, really tired of hearing that we're broke. I'm really tired of hearing that. We had record profits last year. You've got CEOs making record pay on Wall Street after they tanked our economy. We've got CEOs right back to the exorbitant levels of bonuses that they were getting before the collapse.
Yeah.
It is not that there's not enough money out there. I'm not an economist, but when I open the paper every day, I can add things up, right? I did graduate from college. I know enough math to know that there's plenty of money out there. It's that the rich people have it all. They have it all. But we're being told that we're broke. And so who has to sacrifice? Kids, seniors, the middle class. They're the ones who are coming after you. You said before, Medicare is broke. If we don't do something about Medicare, it's going to go broke. Scaring the hell out of people. Right? So, well, I guess we got to do that.
Yeah.
And then what I hear coming out of the other side of the mouth of people who say that is that we need to make the environment better for job creators. Well, what that means to me, I think that's code for tax cuts for rich people, tax cuts for corporations, deregulation, making our water unhealthy, making our air unhealthy, making everything about the environment that we live in unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I also know enough math that when I add those two things together, what I see is a distribution of wealth, a redistribution of wealth, which conservatives in this country have bemoaned for decades and decades, except this time what they're doing is redistributing the wealth upward. I'm not an idiot, and I don't think any of us in this room are idiots, and I don't think the American people are idiots. We know that we're being scammed. We know this is a job. We're being cut from the programs we've depended on for years. Our kids, we don't know if they're going to get a good education. And then we turn around and you say we got to give tax breaks to corporations. You got to make the environment better for job creators. They're sitting on piles and piles of cash. They're making more money than they ever have before. They're making exorbitant profits, and no jobs are being created. It did nothing. It did nothing. So what I want to know, and by the way, all the bills that have been passed, there's not been one single jobs bill. Not one single jobs bill. I think this problem could be solved if we tax the people who can stand to be taxed a little bit more. The top 5 billionaires, I did this math myself. The top 5 billionaires in Wisconsin, if they paid 1.2%, a little bit extra of their income, we would have been able to deal with that budget repair bill. You would have handled it. Those are billionaires with a B.
Okay, what's your question, sir?
My question is, when are you going to start asking for shared sacrifice from the rich, from the super rich and corporations in this country, and use that money to start creating jobs, which you yourself said is the only way our economy is going to grow and the only way the deficit's really going to get reduced.
Let's see if we get a win.
All I can say is tax and borrow and spend hasn't worked. That's why we're...
Not according to Princeton economists. Not according to Princeton.
Let him speak. Shut up.
Not according to Nobel.
I want to know from you if you think the Bush tax
Shut up. Let him speak.
They worked until the financial bubble burst.
Thanks to deregulation.
They're now the Obama tax cuts because he signed the extension bill.
And I don't agree with that either. Will you rescind those? Representative Sensenbrenner, will you rescind the Bush tax cuts?
Boulevard, followed by...
Will you rescind the Bush tax cuts? You didn't answer my question.
Was your question? Let's go.
I had another, I've supported the Ryan budget. Now maybe you were too busy yelling when I answered that question. Joe Bach, first of Lake Bluff, and the last speaker will be Tracy, is it Connor or Cower of Green Bay Avenue in Glendale? Mr. Bach first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Representative, for coming here and talking to us. So I want to, my question kind of follows along with the previous gentleman. So I grew up in the 1970s, I was born in the 1970s in here in West Dallas. My father was a school teacher and my mother stayed home. And with that income, my parents put myself, my brother, and my sister through college. Okay? And we weren't rich, but we weren't poor. We were able to make it a house. And what I worried about as a kid was if Robin Young was going to Brewers. And that was possible because teachers were paid a decent wage that was appropriate with what they're doing. And by the way, teachers are job creators. That's who are real job creators. And so they got a decent wage. And public education at the university level, you have to take a college because you can actually afford it. My first tuition bill was under $1,000. Right? So that's not possible these days. It's not possible for a family with one teacher and a mother that's not working to put 3 kids through a public university system. Because they're not going to accept that if it was that this country has fallen on hard times, if the economy was shrinking, but it's not, it's growing. As the previous speaker said, we are as wealthy as we've ever been if we look at most of the statistics, but what's going on is the middle class is shrinking, right? It's being pushed into the lower class. The money is being sucked up into the super duper rich. Right? You can look at all these statistics.
That's not what the IRS statistics say.
I don't know what you're talking about.
A CEO makes about
It's what Nobel economists say.
And all these regulations are being cut and all this business. We know what happens when regulations are cut, right? We played that game, it's called Monopoly. If you have no rules, one person gets it all. That's what's going to happen. We need rules. We can't have a middle class without having rules. And what has allowed America to have a great middle class 50 years ago through about 1980? 2 things I can think of. One is public education. Secondly, workers' rights.
Yes.
Okay? What is being cut? We're cutting public education. We're cutting workers' rights. We're cutting the future. we're becoming, we're just cutting the middle class apart. And then you see what happens. We get a governor, Walker comes in. What does he pass? What are his priorities? Bust unions, voter suppression, gerrymandering districting. Those are the priorities. Okay, so my question for you is, how can we restore the middle class? What can we do, and why should there be any hope when what wins elections these days? Money. Money, right? And so if it takes money to win elections, the people that are in power, that are legislators, will be the best at raising that money. Who's got the money? So they're going to listen to that. So why is there hope?
The Supreme Court has said that donating money to political organizations, but not candidates, is free speech protected by the First Amendment. Well, that's what they said in Buckley versus Vallejo, and that's a constitutional ruling that they made. So, unless they change their mind, that's the way it is. You know, in terms of the current election going on in this district, unless my TV has got a short in it, there seems to be plenty of money for both sides to put up ads. So one side is, you know, not in the gravy, and the other side isn't. The ads are there all the time.
Right, because the unions are, but they're taking away the money from the unions because they fund Democrats. That's why. They don't give a damn the home workers, right? They want to take the money away from people who are their vote. They want to suppress the vote of minorities, poor people, because they vote for Democrats. They want to change redistricting because they want to change. They want to choose who votes for them.
You want to give Tracy of Green Bay Avenue a chance to speak before he...
How can we fix it?
Well, you know, this is called elections. You know,
What's the policy? How can we middle pass that?
Well, you know, there was an election last fall that had the opposite result of the two previous elections, and maybe the voters didn't like what happened as a result of those.
And if the elections are fixed, how can you change
We're going to the Banana Republic model.
They're fixed by the Democrats.
The Banana Republic model.
Okay, we're at 8:30 now.
So they'll
I said this meeting would end at 8:30 at the beginning of it. If anybody wants to talk to me about a personal problem,